gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to Robert Sports Show. Week 3 of the NCAA football season. Week 2, I went 18-5 when lost. I went 12-8 against the spread. 11-9 on the over-under, which brings me to a season total of week 1 and 2. 46-6 straight up picks, 30-18 against the spread, and 28-20 on the over-under. As long as I can do 500 on the over-under and against the spread, and maybe my personal goal is 75-80% on win-loss, then I'm tickled with my numbers. So we'll go from there. This is week 3, first game. The Friday night, we have the Illinois Fighting Illini 2-0 versus the 22nd ranked South Florida Bulls 2-0. Now, Illinois beat Western Kentucky last week 20-7. South Florida beat Stony Brook. Then they beat San Jose State. I think Ball State is better than San Jose State, which Illinois beat. I think Stony Brook is better than Western Kentucky. So I'm picking Illinois to win. The current line is South Florida by -18. I'm picking Illinois. I'm giving them 3.5. And I'm going to have them cover that. And I'm taking the under on the 51.5. Next, we have the 9th ranked Oklahoma State Cowboys 2-0 versus the 1-1 Pittsburgh Panthers. Oklahoma coming off 2 big wins against South Alabama and Tulsa. With Pittsburgh coming off a conference loss to Penn State. Oklahoma State favored by 2 touchdowns. I have them winning, covering, and under on the 66. Next, with the Air Force Falcons 1-0 versus the 7th ranked 2-0 Michigan Wolverines. Michigan coming off a week 1 victory over 17th ranked Florida 35-17. Beating Cincinnati last week 36-14. Michigan favored by 24.5 at home. I got them winning, covering, taking over on the 53.5. Next, we have the 25th ranked UCLA Bruins 2-0 versus the 1-0 Memphis Tigers. UCLA coming off a big victory over Hawaii 56-23, and then Texas A&M 45-44. UCLA is favored by a field goal. I got them winning. I got them covering. I'm taking over on the 70.5 points, based on what their defense has given up the last 2 weeks, and then what their offense is scoring. Next, we have the 23rd ranked Tennessee Volunteers 2-0 versus the 24th ranked Florida Gators 1-0. Florida losing to Michigan. Sorry, Florida's 0-1, not 1-0. They lost to Michigan in week 1. And then they were canceled last week due to Hurricane Irma. Florida's favored by 5.5. If this game happens, I'm taking Tennessee. I'm giving Tennessee the 5.5. I am covering. I'm taking over on the 49.5. Unsure if that game will happen due to Hurricane Irma. So we'll see what happens there. Next, we have the Virginia Tech Hokies at 2-0 versus the East Carolina Pirates 0-2. Virginia Tech beat West Virginia 31-24 in week 1. Well, East Carolina lost to West Virginia last week 56-20. So Virginia Tech favored by 21. I got them winning, covering. I'm under on the 60 overall points. Next, we have the 10th ranked Wisconsin Badgers 2-0 versus the BYU Cougars 1-0. Wisconsin favored by 15.5 at home. BYU losing to LSU and Utah. While Wisconsin beat Utah State and Florida Atlantic, I got Wisconsin winning, covering the 15.5 and over on the 41.5. Next, we have the SMU Mustangs 2-0 versus the 20th ranked TCU Horned Frogs at 2-0. TCU coming off a 63-point victory in week 1 and a 21-point victory in week 2. They're favored by 18.5 at home. I got them winning, covering, and taking under on a 64.5. Next, we have the Mercer Bears 1-0 versus the 15th ranked Auburn Tigers 1-0. Auburn coming off that loss to Clemson last week. I think they'll bounce back, obviously, versus a D2 school here. I got them winning. No line on that, so it's a straight up pick on that one. Next, we have the Army West Point Black Knights at 2-0 versus the 8th ranked Ohio State Buckeyes at 1-1. Ohio State losing to Oklahoma last week. If Ohio State can win out the Big Ten to get to the Big Ten championship game and possibly win the Big Ten, even with 1 loss, I think they have a good shot at making the playoffs. Last week, Oklahoma had to win in order to I think to make playoffs, I think the Big 12 has to be undefeated in order to make the 14 playoff. Here, Ohio State's favored by 30.5. I get them winning. I got Army covering the 30.5. I'm taking under on the 43. Next, we get the Oregon State Beavers of 1-2 versus 21st ranked Washington State Cougars 2-0. Washington State favored by 3 touchdowns. I got them winning, covering, and over on the 63. Next, we have the Tulane Green Wave 1-1 versus the second-ranked Oklahoma Sooners 2-0. So more than likely, Oklahoma State, I feel almost has to win out in order to represent the Big 12 and because yes, the Big 12 has a title game this year, but it's one division, so it's the first and second teams face each other. So with them, if they win the Big 12 or even one loss in the Big 12, they're almost guaranteed themselves a spot in the playoff in the Big 12 title game. So they're going to win here easily. They're favored by 34. I got them winning, covering, and taking over on the 57.5. Next, we have the LSU Tigers at 2-0 versus the SEC rival in Mississippi State Bulldogs 2-0. Get that out. LSU beating BYU 27-0 and beating Chattanooga Southern or Chattanooga, whatever the hell they are, 45-10. Excuse me on that. I just wrote down Chattanooga. LSU favored by a touchdown at home or on the road. Excuse me. I got them winning, covering, and taking over on the 51.5. Next, we have the Colorado State Rams 2-1 versus the number 1 ranked Alabama Crimson Tide 2-0. Alabama coming off a victory over Florida State in Week 1, 24-7. Slacking Fresno State 41-10. Alabama favored by 28.5. I got them winning, covering, and over on the 53.5. Next, we have the Sanford Bulldogs 2-0 versus the 13th ranked Georgia Bulldogs 2-0. Georgia winning. We have the 18th ranked Kansas State Wildcats 2-0 versus the Vanderbilt Commodores 2-0. K-State's favored by 4 on the road. I got them winning, covering, and over on the 47.5. Next, we have the Georgia State Panthers 0-1 versus the 5th ranked Penn State Nittany Lions 2-0. They're coming off a big conference victory versus Pittsburgh last week, 33-14. They're favored by 38.5. I have them winning, covering, and over on the 53.5. Next, we have 3rd ranked Clemson Tigers 2-0 versus SEC rival 14th ranked Louisville Cardinals 2-0. And if you haven't checked out So Sharp, it's Todd Sharp, the coach of the Louisville Ladybirds dance team. My wife watches it, and I'm stuck watching it with her. Pretty good show. Check that out. It's on Tuesday nights. So I don't recall what channel it was on. So it's about the Louisville Cardinals. So hey, why not? You know, they 2-0 so far this year in the ACC versus this week versus Clemson. I got Clemson. They're favored by 3. I got them winning, covering, and under on the 56. Next, we have the Texas Longhorns 1-1 versus the 4th ranked USC Trojans 2-0. USC beating Stanford 42-24 last week, and Western Michigan 49-31 in Week 1. USC is favored by 15 at home with an over-under of 67. I had the Trojans winning. I had the Longhorns covering the 15 and under on the 67. Fresno State Bulldogs 1-1 versus the 6th ranked Washington Huskies 2-0. Now this is very interesting to me. If you really want to compare Washington and Alabama, the Huskies and the Crimson Tide, as we know, both teams made the playoffs last year. Alabama beat Fresno State 41-10 last week. Can Washington either give up less points, get them, or beat them by more? We'll see what happens. Current line on this game is Washington by 33. I have them winning, covering, and under on the 54.5. So we'll see which team can beat Fresno State the worst. Alabama or Washington. And last but not least, we have the 19th ranked Stanford Cardinals 1-1 versus the San Diego State Aztecs 2-0. San Diego State beating Arizona State 30-20 last week, and Stanford lost to USC last week. Stanford favored by 9.5 on the road. I have them winning, covering, and taking over on 45.5. So that'll wrap up week 3 of the NCAA football season. Make sure you check out week 2 of the NFL video. In the NFL week 1, I went 9-6 win-loss against spread 6-9 over under 7-8. So check out week 2, see how I did. So if you're a NASCAR fan, check out the playoff preview. I broke down the entire 10-race playoff for the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series. I have the NASCAR Tales of the Turtle 400 preview up from Chicagoland, the race 1 of 10 in the chase. If you're a pro wrestling WWE fan, check out the Mae Young Classic review, finals review, coming sometime on Wednesday probably. The finals is Tuesday night at 9 o'clock on the WWE Network. So, as always, thanks for watching Robert Sports Show. Just have a great day. Have a spiffy day. Robert Sports Show, your YouTube leader in sports channel content.